DPM Heng, you raised pump prices significantly by as much as 23%. That's to encourage Singaporeans to move away from conventional cars, promote perhaps EVs instead. Why has there been such a slow move to EVs, you think?
Well, the technology is developing very rapidly, and even in the last few years, we see a lot more promises. So it is important for us to look at what are the trends and what are the major areas. And when we decide that this is the way to go, we can then make a more decisive move. The nature of adoption of many of this is that if you start to do it in a big way and something else turns out a lot better, then you have a lot of stranded costs. So I think this is a rational way for us to proceed, and we've been monitoring these developments over the years, and I think it is a promising area which we will make a big push.
What is the strategy? What is the plan? Are you planning to attract companies to perhaps manufacture EVs here or be part of the ecosystem or supply chain?
Well, there is a whole range of different industries that can be part of our efforts. Certainly the manufacturers of EV, those who are involved in power, the more portable power. I mentioned that I listed Dura Power. It is a Singapore company that has won the trial when it was the first of it in Netherlands. And so they have been doing very well, and I've seen what they have done. So those are promising areas for which we can continue to grow, and I'm sure there'll be many more interesting innovations. So a big part of my budget is also devoted to innovation. And we are creating new platforms like ventures platform to partner with accelerators, venture capital firms, and to support startups. We are having this open innovation platform to raise issues which agencies and businesses may have, and so that on the supply side, those who are working on this can work together. So those are, and of course we have the Global Innovation Alliance, where we are going to expand to many more cities, and that allows us to collaborate on innovation with innovators around the world. So I think we must make a big push for this, and innovation in sustainability will be a major part of this.
Major part of it, what's major and very close and dear to Singaporeans' heart is the property sector, and I can't speak to you without touching on that. Expectations arrive within the industry that Singapore would ease the cooling property measures. Is it premature to be talking about that now?
Oh, it is certainly premature. And in fact, I should say that we have to watch this. The interest rates today are at ultra low, and in some cases even negative. So this can lead to a significant mispricing of asset prices and a significant risk of investing in the wrong places. So we know that when individuals commit to buying a property, they are making a big part of their life savings in it, and we want to make sure that it is something that's sustainable.
When Singapore introduced the cooling measures, property prices had surged by 9%. Last year, it rose by 2.2%. Is there a threshold before Singapore considers new measures?
I won't tell you what the threshold is. Indeed, we are monitoring this. We have a team of people who are looking at all these developments all the time. Following the Asian financial crisis, global financial crisis, I think we have developed a fairly good risk dashboard for the whole economy, and different agencies are monitoring different aspects of the risk board, so that if there is a need for us to move preemptively, we will.
In your budget, you talked about how Singapore's future is pretty much dependent on the global environment as well.
Yes.
We have a new president in the US who's recommitted to multilateralism.
Yes.
Tensions between China and the US seem to have eased.
Right.
What's your own take on the economic environment in the world today?
Well, I think it will be better. I think it is very important that President Biden and his team are very committed to multilateralism, and I think it is important for us, certainly for the case of Singapore, but I would say that certainly for many other economies, the globalization and specialization by different regions is an important way for us to uplift the entire world. If we cannot be achieving our sustainable development goals and hoping to reduce poverty and helping developing economies to develop without us all making an effort. And what it does mean, and I hope that the next step is that we look at how we can collaborate in the future, even in areas like technology. While technology, if you look at what happened in the development of the COVID-19 vaccine, that global collaboration has been very helpful. There's been a bit of a race as well as a bit of a collaboration among scientists and the race amongst. But it is not an entirely bad development. What is important for us is that does not lead to bifurcation of technology platforms and supply chain. And if we can do that, you'll be better for the whole economy. And we can share lessons on how we all need to change, because if for the economy to continue growing, there has to be new patterns of specialization. And those of us who are at a certain level of development will need to develop in a different way. And that is why I think there are many countries which are well positioned to push further on innovation on technology. And if we can collaborate on those, it will be very positive for the world.
What do you hope the Biden administration would mean for its trade policy towards Asia? And how realistic is it to think that he may recommit to TPP?
Well, it is, of course, we've always held the view that bilateral and regional agreements are just building blocks to a multilateral agreement. But having been involved in WTO negotiations for many, many years now, I'm fully aware that it is not easy for all countries to commit to one big agreement all of a sudden. The adjustments that each economy has to make as we open the economy will have to be paced. But I do hope that it can become building blocks to bigger liberalization. And therefore, I do hope that TPP can materialize at some point. But even in the most immediate, I hope that the US administration can be much more involved too in the region, whether it is in ASEAN's development. The ASEAN is now the 5th largest economy in the world. There is a lot of complementarity between ASEAN and all our major trading partners. So if we can work together on that development, you'll be very good for the development of ASEAN, and you'll be very good for the development of our partners as well.
Before we let you go, just one final question. What do you view as the biggest risk for the world today? Some may say it is debt management. Your thoughts?
Well, I think we are in a very unprecedented situation because following the global financial crisis, we have a huge amount of quantitative easing. And in this COVID environment, even economists are quite divided as to whether it is right for us to have this huge stimulus and or whether it will, the forces of gravity will catch up and we will end up with inflation. We will end up, the interest rate cycle has to turn, and when it turns, what will be the consequences? So I would say that the jury is still out. I think my own view is that it is not just debt level per se, but what the debt is used to finance. If it is used to finance the building of long-term infrastructure, is used for the building of enhancing economic potential, then I think it will be a positive. But if it is used to build roads to nowhere, then I think we will have to pay for it at some point. So I think it is not just the debt level, but what we use it for that is critically important.